As we've gotten into the second cycle of the summer season, things are slowing down a little bit. Mostly we're dealing with episode 2s now. Only one new show came out today. I think only one new show is coming out tomorrow. So if I don't put out today's anime every single day, it's only because some of these shows are better held off until I can group a few of them together. Yesterday we had the second episodes of Magical Senpai, which continued to be pretty okay. The main appeal really is just that the girl is very cute. She has a pretty good vocal performance. I love her facial expressions. There's not much else to say about the show. It's funny sometimes. It's not always the most funny. It will definitely get tired if they don't introduce some of the new characters pretty soon, but I would imagine they would do so. So, I don't know. It could go either way. It's only 15-minute episodes, so it's hard to regret watching. So Nan Desu Ka also had its second episode, which I enjoy a little bit more as a 15-minute comedy. I think it just has more meat on its bones. The fact that the humor is derived from the survivalism aspect, just is more interesting. You do learn some things about survival, and I think the jokes are usually pretty funny. I really think that the sort of main girl is a pretty strong character. She's kind of memorable, so I like the way that she's handled. I like that, the episodes are short, so they don't overstay their welcome. Those two shows I'll probably keep watching, and I'll also probably keep watching Dumbbell Nan Moteru, which had its second episode today. It's still very cute, very nice to look at. It's just overall a pleasant experience. I don't find the weightlifting facts quite as interesting as So Nan Desu Ka's survivalism facts, but they are more helpful and appropriate. As the first episode, I had said that most of what we learned was very basic. This episode, that continues to mostly be the case, but there were some things in this episode that I didn't necessarily know about. Most especially the differences in different types of stretching, how there's certain types of stretching that actually you should not do before going in the gym. Not that I ever do stretches anyways, but that there are certain types that you can do that are more effective for things like weightlifting. It was interesting information that I did not know, even if it is probably still very basic and most gym people probably know about it. But, Dumbbell is one of these, it's a category of show that I would like to consider like a message board as a show. Like, clearly the attitude of it, the types of discussions, like, it could only have been made by somebody who hangs out in like bodybuilding forums and has conversations with people and then translates that experience and having seen lots of Q&A sessions, like learned what people don't know and what they need to know and putting all that into a show. There's a lot of shows that are like that, but you can kind of tell the difference between one where it's just like somebody who's really into this hobby wrote a thing where the characters are just kind of explaining it, like So Nan Desu Ka, and one where there's more of this community element where it feels like exchanges that may be parallel ones that have been had, amidst the author and other people who are also into that thing are being kind of incorporated into the show. And I'm always a fan of that. But Dumbbell, if it's lacking in any regard, I would say it's just that it's not usually particularly funny. It's cute. I would say that it does a good job of being like a kind of a moe slice of life, in spite of the fact that it's both more sexy and more muscle driven, that it's kind of got a sports show element and that the girls are drawn like ripped. That's part of the appeal. But it still has that Doga Kobo cute girls kind of feel to it as well. I think that the main girl, I believe her name's Hibiki, I think she's really cute. I like her voice in this episode in particular. She had a bunch of moments that made me kind of feel like, when I talked about the first episode, I had said I wasn't sure if the addition of voice and music and color was enough to justify choosing the anime over the manga. Not that you have to make that decision, you can just, consume both, but I did feel like the voice acting at this point, felt like it was giving me something I couldn't get from the manga, because she did have a bunch of really cute moments, and I also just love the way they draw her hair. In general, she looks good. I also like that there's like so many darker skin toned characters in this show. It's just kind of uncommon, and it looks great. Doga Kobo kind of has done that in a bunch of their shows. It's interesting. But yeah, overall, I think it's still pretty fun. And I gotta say, I actually did some planks this time. Towards the end of the episode, they reminded me of the existence of planks. So I started doing planks through the later part of the episode, through the ED, and at the end, there is actually an after segment where you're supposed to do planks with the characters. So I did another plank with that. Came out feeling my abs screaming, but it felt good. I felt somehow taller walking around the house, felt more in charge. I've lost a little weight because I have been dieting since the previous episode, not because of the show, but because some of my pants weren't fitting so good. So yeah, I think it's starting to get into my skull a little bit, but it's mostly just a cute girls show. Incidentally, my fiance on the channel Pantsu Party made her own video using Dumbbell Nan as a catalyst to talk about the way that anime talks about weight, the way that characters gaining weight is portrayed in anime, and some of the reasons that it can be kind of shitty. It's a pretty fun take. It's a really funny video. You should go check it out. Link in the description. So there was only one new anime that came out today, and that was Isekai Cheat Magician. Now, in the course of doing my Arifureta episode 1 video, which came out today, the first half of episode 1 was covered in that video. I'm going to cover the second half of episode 1 in a separate video, either tomorrow or the next day. And I've already written that part, but in the research I was doing for it, I found that most of these isekai stories that are based on web novels, they all come from like the same website, this site called Let's Be a Novelist. And this is the fourth of the light novel adaptations based on web novels from that website coming out this season. You had If It's For My Daughter, I'd Even Defeat a Demon Lord, Arifureta, Mao-sama Retry, and now Isekai Cheat Magician. All of them were light novels from a few years back that have finally made it to anime, and none of them are great. Unsurprisingly, this one is pretty fucking bland and generic. I did not make it very far. It wasn't as painful as Mao-sama Retry. It wasn't quite so devoid of any ideas at all, but it was extremely generic. The girls are at least a little cuter, I guess. The animation's pretty bad. There's just... right away, it feels very cheap and slapped together. It feels like a show that was made by a machine, like a factory assembly line, like it was, just on a conveyor belt. Some machines pressed some girls onto it. One pressed the, whatever specific rules this isekai world has, and then it was shipped off. You could tell just by looking at it. I honestly don't think that anybody's gonna have the wrong idea about this show. It's exactly what you think it is. It's exactly what it looks like. It's what the title implies it will be. It is just another isekai show. So I dropped it pretty quick. Will not be watching any more of that, so I guess my Wednesdays are gonna be just Dumbbell Nan Moteru for a while. Don't know if any of them will have enough for me to say for me to make videos, so you might see Tuesday and Wednesday be my these shows just get talked about briefly in the next episode kind of shows. But we'll see what happens, and I'll see you then.